Hey, Queens. Hi, Queens. Bop, bop, bop. Tickets. Oh. Do y'all want to see my skincare routine? Thank you so much to the people joining. Send likes. Thank you to people sending likes. Do y'all want to see my skincare routine? This is my skincare routine. So that's what my skin actually looks like. It's not that much different. I also have pretty good lighting, so let's try and make that lighting a little worse. So I do have wrinkles, little blemishes. But then when I want my pretty privilege, we bring that back. We bring that back. A boom. Yeah, I also whiten my teeth, so that's my teeth normally. That's them now. Ooh, I can do eyeshadow. Well, that's ugly. So yeah, that's it. My other skincare routine, I'm not even sponsored, but I will just use this. And then I use their moisturizer as well. So that's what I do. And it works pretty well. So I should get a good sunscreen, so I just invested a little bit in skincare. But no, I haven't gotten a sunscreen yet. But I will. What university do I go to? I go to the University of Oxford. Slay. So if you know any creators at University of Oxford, LMK, and tell them to hit me up. Okay. Watermelon emojis pro pally. Anyway. Guest requests are on. If you disagree with me, send a guest request. If you have someone who you think would disagree with me, tell them to send a guest request. Also my phone might die, which would be really unfortunate. But that's a problem for another day. / later. Guys, this kid is slow and worthless. Please get up here and debate me. Prove it, brother. Prove it. Because I do become a debate me bro when I get bored. So come on, homies. How do I propose the mass unaliving of Palestinian women and children ends? By stopping unaliving them? Pretty low bar. It's a pretty low bar for not them dying. My friend Sarah okay, suggest an alternative and I'll use it. And also suggest an actual ethical one. Because I agree. The vast majority of them are horrendous. DM me, brother. I'd like to shop ethically. It's just difficult. Do I support Iran? No. Do I think a lot of the criticisms of Iran are unfounded? Yes. So this is what's interesting. I'm aware that Iran backs Hamas. But America backs Israel. And Saudi Arabia and Jordan and the UAE and Qatar in part. The older millennial is often not sober, first of all. And second of all, just a straight up liar. So, wait, why don't we just mind our own business? I would be fine with that. I don't want the U.S. to be involved. I think the best thing we can do is get out of this business. I live in the UK. But how? I want to get it. If you think, I'm misinformed, everyone. Me when I'm misinformed. No one's going to listen to a queer like you. You know nothing. Once again, please come up and tell that to my face. Please. Please. Send a guest request. The guest request button is right down here. Hello. Would you send a
Hey,
guest request to disagree on?
I don't think I disagree. I think I've just been trying to unlearn a lot of things that I've been taught.
Sure.
So I'm Jewish, and I've been told that Israel is just like everything. Basically, like my entire life is just like Israel, Israel. And then I've been listening to the other side, and I feel like I've just been so uneducated, I guess, on all sides of this. So I've been trying to educate myself, and I really appreciate your lives,
Slay, thank you. That's
of
very
course.
kind.
So I don't think I disagree. I think that like a two-state solution maybe would be an
I agree
option.
with a two-state solution in the interim. I think a two-state solution is the only thing that works right now.
Yeah, that's what
But
I
a
would agree
one-state
with.
solution is the only resilient solution from
Yeah,
how
I
I see
know.
it.
It's just like I feel like anyone that I talk to in my family just shuts me down for like even wanting to support Palestine at all. So it's just been really fun with that.
That is horrendous. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not blind to what's going on in Gaza. I think it's awful, and I do not support what's going on in Gaza. I think it's disgusting.
Absolutely. Nor do I.
Yes.
Slay. Do you
So
have any
I just
specific
think,
questions, or otherwise I'll find someone who generally does disagree, and you're welcome to listen or DM me
um,
after.
I think my only question is, would you consider Hamas like a T organization, or would you consider them like freedom fighters?
I don't think those are mutually exclusive, but I'd say that. Oh, oh, crazy. I've been on the record consistently referring to them as T organization.
Yeah, that's see, because that's where people are like arguing, and they're like, no, they're not. And I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's just not a terribly useful distinction because the solution, regardless, is the same. I mean, Hamas was
Yeah,
supported by
exactly.
Israel. Yeah,
It's
they
just so
are the
mixed up.
organization in charge of that area because Israel wanted them to be by comparison to the PA. So we have to look at the underlying structures that led to
Yeah.
that.
All right. Well, then I think we're pretty much in agreement then.
Slay, thank you.
Of course. And have a good day.
No problem. Thank you so much. Send a guest request if you disagree with me. Debate Destiny. Get me on Destiny's Live. That would be great. Send a guest request if you disagree with me, everyone. Oh, okay. Send a guest request if you disagree with me. We've got 500 people on this live, which I greatly appreciate. If 500 people can start sending likes, we can get a real good live moving and grooving. What I will say is my phone's like slowly running out of power, which is really unfortunate. Let me see if I can get like a proper power thing going into it. Well, if you disagree, send a guest request. The guest request is here. Um, Jamal for Jesus. I don't know why you should be speaking on foreign affairs. I don't know why I'm so sing-songy today, everyone. It's really good fun. Anti-Semite? Bro, please come up on my live and accuse me of being an anti-Semite. It's such idiocy. It's everyone knows that it's idiocy, right? Like we all know that it's consistently a talking point of the Israel lobby to accuse anyone who disagrees with them on any grounds of being an anti-Semite. And we all know that it's nonsense.
Hey, how's it going?
Real well, what'd you send a guest request to disagree with?
I wanted to ask you, do you know how many terrorist attacks happen in Israel every day?
Lots.
How much is lots? I just want to get an understanding.
A lot. What's the relevance? And I can answer in the relevant way.
Well, the relevance is that, Israel has always had a systematic threat against it. And, a systematic in the sense that one nation is trying to cleanse another nation through the means of terrorism.
So has Palestine in the form of Israel.
So I just want to get this right. Israel has all these terrorist attacks against it, right? So you got to tell me, man, how should Israel defend itself against all of this terrorism?
Well, how should Palestine defend itself against all of its terrorism? The answer is reciprocal in all wars. We have some base rules for war, okay? Because fundamentally, we have base rules on how you treat
And you're
occupied
genuine,
territories.
right?
Am I genuine?
You're genuine, right? So you should know the suffering of
So
both
let's just
sides,
sorry.
right?
Let me try and answer your question cohesively first. The easiest way to reduce terrorism is to stop violating their rights. We saw a marked
Violating
decrease.
the rights of
We saw a
ISIS.
marked decrease in anti-French terrorism when the French left Algeria. We saw a marked decrease in terrorism following the fall of apartheid South Africa. We saw a marked decrease in terrorism across most revolutionary forces. That is the easiest solution. So the first thing Israel
Yeah,
should
but
do
that's not the
before it kills
causation
women
of
and children
terrorism.
should be to stop violating the Palestinians' rights. And then, if violence continues following that, we can have an interesting discussion about what other form of international intervention is necessary. But until then, right, if they're not taking the easy solution, they're not allowed to take the hard solutions.
Look, there's terrorism that happens all across the world. It's got nothing to do with occupation, nothing to do with colonization, apartheid, all these things. Although you may want it to seem that way. It's got nothing to do with that. Terrorism happens everywhere. Terrorism is based on like some sort of ideology, some twisted perception of someone's ideology. And that's all it is. You can't even tell me how much terrorist attacks happens to the
Can you?
Israelis. Since March of
No,
2022,
give me. Sorry, let's just make this a knowledge thing. How much has happened in 2023 only?
terrorism,
Yep, by the number.
maybe 1,600 cases or incidents.
What's your source for that?
FDD.
FDD. Wonderful.
FDD.org. I'm surprised you don't know about it, since
I know
you're here
about it. I
debating.
don't know precise numbers. What is FDD?
It's a reliable organization. It's an Israeli organization or an American one.
Okay. FDD, Israel at War. Well, let's see what FDD stands for. So this is Foundation for Defense of Democracies.
There's an interactive map that they have on there that you can check out.
Let's see where their funding comes from. Okay, so the former U.S. ambassador said FDD offers hardly any information on where its funding comes from and where it goes. So it's said that the top
Hold
donor
on, they
was a
literally have an interactive
multi-billionaire
map.
owner of from
Hold on,
Ameriquest
every
Mortgage,
single.
so a banker. They seem to
Oh my
be
God.
he's a Canadian American businessman, business and philanthropist. Okay, Canadian Jewish Brahmin. Oh, another billionaire, 2.5 billion as of
Bro, let
2023.
me tell you something really quickly.
So just to be
They have.
extraordinarily clear, what you've pointed me to is something that
Doesn't
is
mean it's
a
not
that is
credible.
no, it does mean that it's a bad source. Because you've pointed me to a non-transparent, dark money lobbying organization that its explicit goal is to defend and legitimize the state of Israel, right? And condemn and delegitimize, right? Specifically Iran, Russia, China, and China. So
Has
once
got nothing.
again, the thing is the reason this is relevant is you came up here. The term that we use for that is you tried to impeach me. Whether I know the exact number of how much Teaism has happened in Israel, totally irrelevant to the debate. It actually doesn't
Well,
matter at all, right? But you tried to
a lot,
impeach me by
which,
effectively saying
yeah.
I didn't have the sufficient knowledge to talk about this. And yet, the knowledge that you presented was based on a dark money, non-transparent lobbying group, right? Actively backed by multi-billionaire donors. I think it's notably better to not cite a source than to cite a corrupt source.
That's like me saying I can't trust the deaths that come out of Hamas hospitals because Hamas operates in them. That's like me saying that it's not coming from a trusted source. So no,
Well, no, I
actually
would cite
look at the
Amnesty and
interactive
Human
map.
Rights Watch for those numbers.
Hold on. Look at the By the way, those are organizations that are known to cooperate with Hamas, the UN.
But we know where their money comes from, and we know what their
Regardless, it's not
interests
about the
are.
money. It's
It
not
is
about
about the money. With every organization, it's about the money that they get and where their interests lie. And Amnesty International's interests lie a whole lot more with Israel than against Israel, and yet they are still calling out the Israeli violations of international law. I trust them a whole lot more than a Israeli-backed organization justifying and legitimizing the genocide that Israel's committing. So source matters, and especially when you're going to try and impeach my
You look
character,
at the
because that was the only
interactive map.
that was the only validity of the point.
Just look at the interactive map. Just look at the
Guys,
interactive
just because
map.
it has fun colors doesn't mean that it's true.
Look, no, it's very detailed.
Guys, look, the HTML.
Listen, it's very detailed to the point that you can search up every incident that happened, and you can search it up on Google, and there'll be a journal article. There'll be an
cite
article.
to me the actual organization that would do this conglomeracy other than a dark money NGO. But I don't really care about a dark money NGO. They literally don't matter.
There's many of them.
Give me another one.
Amnesty has done interactive maps, haven't they?
Oh, great. Then show me Amnesty.
Amnesty doesn't do interactive maps on the attacks against Israelis.
Do you need fun colors to learn about Teaism?
So just because the FDD has, look into the source instead of
I did. That's literally what I did.
If it's credible.
I literally looked into the. That's what I did. I looked into the source.
So go to the interactive map, click on an incident.
The source is FDD. I'm just gonna reference. I'm just gonna get up Wikipedia because it's by and large a better source. Dun, 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 dun.
Wikipedia is gonna tell you just the attacks. I'm talking about attacks and attempted attacks. That's what the FDD shows. It shows.
Oh, you know what came up actually? Israel and state-sponsored Teaism. That's fascinating. That's a much longer article, everyone. Yeah. Just to, if you follow me and you don't think Wikipedia is a good source, get out. Move beyond third grade, everyone. Wikipedia is objectively one of the most reliable sources for truth in this world. Wikipedia is a good source by and large. But anyway, yeah, it is. I'll bicker with anyone about this. Wikipedia is one of the most reliable, non-biased sources that you could conceivably do. Oh, it's written by anyone? That also means that it's corrected by everyone.
Do you see this map I have? This is interactive.
Once again, fancy colors, good work. What are you citing?
This is the FDD, man. You were just looking at it.
I don't care. I don't care what the FDD says.
Well, you got to look into what it says. You can't judge a book by the cover.
Wait, I literally don't care. If Bibi Netanyahu says a statistic, I don't believe it.
You can't judge a book by the author. You have to look into the book.
I can if that author is paid by multi-billionaire bankers.
Look into the book and read if the book is correct. Okay?
It's just not a valuable exercise.
It is valuable.
It's not valuable to try and look at the highly biased peoples and then try to discern sorry. It's just not a valuable exercise to use highly biased organizations as your source of truth, right? And then try to discern out the bias and find the truth. It's just not.
Is there Jews that are against Israel?
Are there Jews that are against Israel? Yes. These are not those Jews.
So just because the author is Jewish doesn't mean he's a Zionist. So there you go, you genius. Now look into the source.
as I said, the organization is a Zionist organization. I didn't say anything about the founders being Jewish BT dubs,
Okay,
right?
the
You're once
organization
again, this
is a Zionist
is the,
organization.
wait, sorry.
Does that mean that everything they say is wrong?
No. What I said was
So there
it's
you
not a
go. So read
valuable
the book.
once again,
So
I
look
said
at
it's
the
not a
website.
valuable. Once again, guys, I just want to note the rhetoric strategy happening here. He once again tried to impeach me. He tried to suggest I was anti-Semitic by conflating Jews and Zionism, right? To suggest I didn't say anything about the founders being
Where
Jewish.
did you get
By
that
and large,
from?
they are Jewish.
I'm not
I actually
trying to
left
say
out that they
you're
were Jewish
anti-Semitic.
because I didn't want to engage in that discussion at all.
What?
Right? But it is
That's
an
crazy.
impeachment. And I'd like to be very clear about that. I didn't say anything
I
about them
claimed
being
you're
Jewish.
anti-Semitic.
One
That's
second.
crazy.
I didn't say them anything about them being Jewish. You did. I don't trust them because they don't tell me where their money is. Stop speaking, brother. 1 second. No. I said I don't trust them because I don't know where their money comes from, and the only source for where their money comes from is a few banking billionaires. I don't
What did you
trust
say
banking
about Jewish?
billionaires.
What did you say? You said someone was Jewish.
I said I read off that one of them ran a Jewish foundation. I didn't
There you go.
relate that
So
at
why'd
all
you
to
bring
their
that up?
work
Why'd you bring that up?
because I was reading the Wikipedia of it.
What's the relevancy in that? You just read random
There was
stuff?
nothing relevant. That's why I didn't form an argument about it.
You brought it up, so that's putting
I
it in your argument.
I was reading off the Wikipedia.
Cool. Keep reading on Wikipedia then. Let's
It
see
is
where that
actually
goes.
like genuine brain rot. Can I just note beyond this argument? Can someone come up here and try and debate with me about the use of Wikipedia? Wikipedia is okay. This is nonsense. I'm just getting annoyed at this point. Wikipedia is one of the most reliable sources in the world because the thing is when Wikipedia says something, they cite their sources, right? So when you want a large scale analytics, right, or conglomerated statistics from Wikipedia, you have the trust and the sources for it, but you also have the work of hundreds of thousands of people, right? Putting together the data in
You've
an
got that
easy
on
to
FTD.
understand way. It's just nonsense.
Listen, on FDD, when you click on the interactive map and you click on the incident, it tells you the date, it tells you the time, it tells you what happened, it tells you everything about the incident. It's not like they made up stories.
That's
and
fine.
You can look into the incident.
I just once again, as I said, I don't think using a biased source is helpful.
Well,
but can you make your
hurts-
point as it is relevant to the
It hurts
topic?
your reputation when you haven't read or looked into it. So there you go.
It doesn't hurt my reputation that I don't know every single think
just because
tank.
anything, if someone's a
Wait, how does
Zionist,
it hurt my reputation that I don't know every
because-
single
because
Zionist think
according
tank?
to you,
There are
let me
hundreds of
tell you.
thousands of Zionist think tanks.
So let me tell you, because according to you, if anyone's a Zionist or if everyone appears to be biased in a way, then they're not credible immediately before even looking into their work.
No, that is not my indictment.
Yes.
What did I
Yes.
actually indict this organization of doing?
You claim they're Zionists.
What else did I claim about it?
You claim that they can't be trusted because you don't know where their funding comes from. Scary.
And what else did I claim about them?
I don't know.
Well, I think before repeating my things, you should know what I said. What I said was that 1, they're clearly a pro-Zionist think tank. 2, we don't know where their funding
That's
comes
what
from.
bias means.
1 second.
By the way.
2, we don't know where their funding comes from. 3, the little information we do have about their funding points to them being primarily funded by individual banking billionaires.
Okay.
Those 3
So what?
alone are enough for me to say I don't care what they have to say.
Well, good luck, man. You're not
Okay,
gonna.
but can
you're
you
not
make
gonna
a point
find out
that is
anything.
relevant to the topic then?
If that's your criteria, good luck, man. Good luck moving forward.
That is my criteria.
You sound really biased, and you sound like you're not. Look, I guarantee you.
Could you
if I
make a
would've
point
asked
relevant
you-
to the topic at hand?
Yeah. So if I would have asked you how many injuries there are in Gaza, you would have answered that in a heartbeat. But the fact that you don't know
I
how
couldn't
many
tell you a
terrorist
direct
attacks-
number for that either. I mean, I know there are
Well,
upwards of
you could give me an average. Don't lie. Don't lie.
an
You could
average
give
of
me an
what?
average.
Explain to me what average you
How
would be
many
asking.
people are killed or injured in Gaza? Give me an average.
Describe to me how that average would be created. An average of what?
So an average based on everything you're seeing on
An
social media.
average. I mean,
Yes, an average. Some
upwards of
people are
100,000
claiming
people are
30,000.
hurt, but I wouldn't be able to.
Some people are claiming 30,000. Some people are claiming 20,000.
Well,
Have you
30,000 is
seen
the
anyone
reported
claim
number
that
of deaths, not
100,000
injuries.
have been killed? Are you saying that someone said to you that 100,000 people have been killed in Gaza?
Well, no, if you allowed me to speak uninterrupted, you would find out what I was
Go
actually
ahead.
saying. But what were you saying? What's the actual question you're holding?
So if I ask you how many people have been killed or injured in Gaza, you can give me an estimate, right? But the
Maybe.
fact that you can't give me an estimate for the amount of terrorist attacks that happen in Israel just shows your bias. Because
Well, no, it
you don't
depends
look
what you're
into the
categorizing
suffering
as a
of
terrorist
Israelis.
attack and what context you're saying. That's why I asked. Let's just be extremely clear about my response. That's why I asked. It depends in what context you're discussing, right? Because the Israelis, by and large, count all offensive attacks
Well,
from any organization
there's
outside
a
of itself
context when it comes
as.
to the
No, I know,
Israeli
but you
side.
added no
Right.
context.
The
That's why it's
the context
important. You
is
added no
attacks. It's
context.
pretty simple. That's
Attacks of what size? And also, the number you
any
cited
attack,
yourself,
any
the
attempt,
the number you cited yourself was not the attacks. It was the attacks successful
an
or not or
attempt.
planned. An attempt is
No,
not
no,
an
not
attack.
planned, not planned. No, attempt. Attempt
Attempt
means
is not an
you
attack.
attempt to So let me tell you, attempt isn't the same as planning. Planning is like you're planning it from your area without actually committing the attack, right? Attacking and attempting, that's different. That's what is cited
No, I know, but you would typically
in
say
that
that an
website.
attempt is not in fact an attack.
I know attempt is an attack. It
Well,
is
see, this is the
because
context that's relevant.
no, this is the context that's just this is the context that you should already be aware of.
Well,
That's the
it
context.
matters.
You,
So if we're talking about the amount of people that died, for example, then attempts wouldn't be counted to that number, right? But if we were simply if the point you were trying to make was about the hate that the H group has against Israel, then it would be relevant, right?
so
This is
so
why I
do you,
asked you, one second. This is why I asked you for the context of the question, because it matters. And still, the reason we're doing this is because this is meant to be a debate, not a personal attack. And that's why I called you out for making a personal attack rather than an actual point.
what was the personal
Um,
attack?
so it's talking about my knowledge. Whether or not I know something has absolutely no bearing on the validity of my position, right? The fact that I don't know a
No,
specific
I
statistic.
didn't mean to
So yeah,
insult
exactly,
you. I was just saying
exactly.
you're
So the
biased.
point that you're making, right,
It's
which
not
is
an
you don't
insult.
know a specific statistic, has absolutely no bearing on the debate at
Do you think
hand.
do you think it's important? Do you think it's an
I think lots
important
of things are
statistic?
important. I think within the context of what we're
So then
discussing.
before
No,
you
no,
go
no, no, no. Because
live and
one
before
second.
you debate,
I
you should know
I
something
think
that's
it's
important about what you're debating. It's a good point.
okay. What's the current population down to the last digit of Palestinians?
That's a bit different to how many terrorist attacks happen on average. Remember
On
the word
average of what?
average.
You're adding averages if it makes it easier.
No, I said that
Okay.
in the beginning. Listen, you
Okay.
can
How many
clip the
Israeli
live
bombs were
stream and you can
fired
go
in
back
southern
to it.
Lebanon in 2009?
I know what I said.
How many
Okay, you can
reporters have
clip the
died
live
in
stream.
in Gaza within the past 30 days?
Some people say 20, some people say 30.
And some people say 62. So I would
Who said
I
60?
would say that
Show
that
me
is
a
a
source that said 60.
well.
You're
I mean, the
lying.
UN reported 62. Amnesty
Show
International
me.
reported
Show me.
110.
Show me.
The
Is
point.
that
No,
death?
this is why context is relevant.
Is that death?
Because
No
20
one
is
said
an
that.
order is close to an order of
Hold on,
magnitude.
no one said
No, I'm
that.
just not going to allow you to continue to interrupt me. Do you think that's fair?
What? Your chat is saying 100,000 people have been killed? What are you talking about? Where do you get these
One second.
statistics?
Unit Z, can I know your name?
Unit Z, that's my name.
Is that your name? Okay.
It's my name.
So Unit Z, you see how the only way that we have a discussion is when the facts that we're presenting are relevant to a point that we are making. So I need to know the point you're making so I'm able to engage with the underlying facts or reasoning that you're presenting. Does that make sense to you?
Point is pretty clear, man. You should know about the suffering of the Israelis just as much as the suffering of the Palestinians. It's pretty simple. If you don't want to
I
be
couldn't tell
biased,
you how many, just to be very clear, I couldn't tell you how many, settlers in the
people
West
have been
Bank have
killed in
committed
Gaza.
to. No, I would not be able to, comparing like to like, I would not be able to tell you, right, down to any degree of certainty, the amount of settlers in the West Bank that have unalived Palestinians.
That's pretty bad
Those are
if you don't
terrorist
know that.
Well, the point is what's important, right, is to understand the fundamentals. The specific numbers are only relevant within specific contexts. That's just how this works.
By the way, I've seen you on other lives before. You don't really know what you're talking about.
Well, then
Uh,
prove that
pe-
it's relevant to the point that I made. Because I'm having a debate, you're attempting to personally attack me. Once again, whatever ulterior knowledge I have or do not have is irrelevant to the point that I've made. So could you respond to the arguments and points that I have actually made?
you haven't made any. That's the point. You don't know statistics.
That's a point. I know I'm
I gave
dyslexic,
you
are
an
you?
organization, and you said it was funded by Zionist bankers.
Once again,
You said,
a
"I don't
point is
take
not a
that."
fact. A point is a conclusion of an argument. This is a point that is a conclusion of my long-standing arguments. You've seen my arguments before. Please respond to something that I actually have said.
All right, I think I'm gonna end it there, man. Good luck, bro. Be less biased. That's my advice for you in the future.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm going to, Yas. Did I get it? Did I get it? Yes, I got it. Yay, I got my tickets, everyone. Slay. Okay. Let's keep going, baby. Let's keep going. Do follow my YouTube if you don't follow me already.
Yeah,
Um,
how are you?
Hi, Ohan? Is it Ohan?
Yep.
Okay, Ohan, what'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
Just a second, sorry, I didn't hear that.
Hi, what'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
Basically, what you have on your background and all
Wonderful.
you
On what basis?
Israel and the IDF. Um, I think we can debate on the premise of that. I'm only guessing that the premise of that is because you do not agree with what Israel is currently doing.
And a series of other ones. I mean, there are a few arguments for why we shouldn't be supporting them, but the current G-side happening in Gaza is a good one to start on.
So I would like to talk about basically what brought us here, and that's
Well, let's start with where we have a disagreement. Where do you think we have a disagreement so we can actually have a two-way discussion?
Okay. So do you think what the age group did on October the 7th was a legitimate act of resistance,
No.
or was it a terrorist attack?
I would call it a T-group attack.
Okay. Do you support the age group?
No.
Okay. Do you think I think that I've heard you talking before, so I can only guess that we disagree on something. So why won't you ask me a question that you can probably guess the answer that I will give you, and let's
I
debate
just
on
want to
that.
know, it's quite funny. It's quite funny that you think that those are the actual points of contention. Those points are literally irrelevant. Like, it doesn't actually matter if you support the age group. But at least in relation to what Israel's doing. Do you believe that Israel should stop its military blockade on Gaza and immediately return to the pre-1967 borders?
Absolutely not.
There we go. There we go. So why do you believe that Israel should continue an illegal occupation?
Basically the reason the blockade even started was the Intifada. And what happened in the Intifada was a lot of kapow on buses and a lot of unalived people for a very long time. It was happening for a very long time, like a few years. It was terrible. And then Israel said, and I completely agree with that okay, we can't allow free access to our places. We need to make sure that the people that go into Israel that they are checked. So basically, the blockade happened, that they are checked, and that basically checkpoint happened. But when the blockade happened is actually after like Hamas started went into power.
Okay,
And
let's try and be really, really clear here. You're justifying not only the blockade, but also the borders, right, following 1967. I understand the argument from defense, but defense does not include moving your own peoples into an occupied territories, right? You are not defending yourself by moving your own peoples into an occupied territory. And if you are, that is what we call using human shields. So if you are arguing from a defense perspective, I can see how you would attempt to justify, right, the fundamentally genocidal blockade that has been happening. But I'm asking you more specifically about the occupied territories following 1967. Why do you believe that Israel, right, has the right to illegally occupy the territories that it gained following the 1967 war, despite that being very clearly in violation of international law? Do you believe that Israel is above the very international law that created it?
So let's talk about you made a few points. Let me just ask, where are you from?
From the US, live in the UK.
Okay, US from the UK. How much bigger is the US and the UK from Israel?
How much bigger is it?
Yeah.
Notably.
So Israel is the size of New Jersey. All of Israel right now. If we're talking about the 67 borders, probably much lower. But my point is that you take for granted basically the buffer zone, the territory that people will need to cross to actually get to you. Okay? And you take it for granted because you live in places that are basically pretty peaceful, to be honest.
I'm just going to stop you right there. Are you justifying moving civilians into an area to create a buffer zone?
I don't really think that you know how where the main main towns or main cities in Israel are in respect to the borders, because what
There are
you're saying is
kibbutzes
not really.
within occupied Gazan territory.
Are we talking about Gaza or are we talking about the West Bank? Like
I'm talking about
argument?
all territories that were taken following 1967, of which some of them are the ones that border with Egypt that were formerly part of that part that we would typically term the Gazan territory. There are kibbutzes, there are civilian populations
The Sinai
within those
Desert
areas.
was never a part of Gaza.
Not the Sinai. I'm not referring to the Sinai.
Please be more specific then. So we are talking about Gaza, right? I don't really know what you are talking about in that case.
We can make this really simple. Let's refer to the West Bank. Israel is moving civilian populations into occupied territories under the West Bank. They termed them themselves in the Oslo Accords occupied territories. Are you suggesting that they need civilians in occupied territories to act as a buffer zone?
I've never said it, but the point is that when we left Gaza, okay, it turned into a military base. So every time we basically pull out of the place and give them basically the freedom to militarize themselves as much as they wish. They just take it, and instead of trying to make peace, they try to do everything to erase Israel.
And are you
It's
suggesting
happening
that a
already.
correct solution to this is to move Jewish people into that area to act as buffers and human shields?
There is so much military presence in this area that I
I'm
don't really
asking
see
you
the
about the
argument.
civilian presence. Are you suggesting the civilian presence is a solution to the militarization of that area?
Yes, because with all due respect, the people that are living there, okay, they basically act as a way for the Palestinians to actually talk with people in the West Bank. Because if you take this basically this place and turn it into a giant place that nobody is even sees a Jew, and then you have all the Palestinian TV shows telling them that basically unaliving Jews is the greatest glory that you could ever wish for. You will have a much worst thing to worry about. And
Can I
if we
can I
pull
say what
out
you
for the
said
West
in
Bank,
slightly different words? What you've just
a second.
described is okay. What you just
Just a
described is
second.
cultural assimilation.
If we take, I don't really understand why, but let me just
Do you
finish
not
my
know what
point and you will
cultural
answer. Just
assimilation
let me
is?
finish my point and you will answer. So if we take out like all of the West Bank, we pull out of there, the strip of land between the sea and the West Bank, which also have Tel Aviv, which is the greatest Israeli city, like they have the most population, like 2 million people. This strip of land is 10 kilometers wide. 10 kilometers wide. So basically, every rocket fired, if we take Gaza for example, and pull it out and put it in the West Banks, basically every rocket can hit Tel Aviv. We will have this will endanger every single Israeli that live there. Who know how many times more than what
Okay,
we are going to get
I'm
in
a little done
terms
with the. So you've repeated yourself now. I heard you the first time. I also don't like monologues. I try and be quite short. I'd appreciate if you were as well, because you're repeating the same point. Is they need space, and it does. What you're saying is that we need to put a human shield of Israelis in this area. Number one, to culturally assimilate the area, and number two, to act as human shields. That is disgusting on two sides. Number one, cultural assimilation is disgusting. Number two, using people as human shields is disgusting. Do you not see how you're suggesting that we need to place civilians in a buffer zone to assimilate the people that otherwise can't be assimilated in that buffer zone? And number two, to defend the really important bits of Tel Aviv, they can act as sacrificial. You always accuse Palestinians of using martyrs, right, and using human shields, when in fact you are systematically, right, making a situation of human shields, martyrs, and cultural genocide.
It was a very long stretch, but okay.
It was about 10 seconds. You went on for 2 minutes. What are you talking? Explain that comment to me.
No, I mean the stretch that you took from what I said to what you understood from that.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
was
let's
the
go through
stretch.
definition-wise. How are you not using them as human shields?
Those are towns, and every Israeli town is defended by Israeli forces, because that's how sadly. If there weren't as many clashes with angry Palestinian mobs, I really hope that we will have peace, but there isn't any moderate partner to actually talk about peace with.
The PA offered a two-state solution. But also, you're not actually defending why you need civilians in the buffer zone. Explain to me why you're saying we need a buffer zone to keep Tel Aviv safe, So we need to put civilians in that buffer zone. That puts them in the line of fire directly. You're saying we should use Jewish Israelis as cannon fodder.
Cannon fodder. Okay, this is a long stretch. Okay, so when we're talking about a city that have 2 million people, when you're talking about buffer zone, I'm talking about how we can basically turn the West Bank, which if all of it was Palestinian, they could shoot at Beersheba, they could shoot at Tel Aviv, they could shoot at every single major Israeli city,
So you
even
put in
Haifa.
military. So
Even
just to be clear, the solution to defense is military, not civilians.
what I'm saying is the territory needs to be controlled by Israel completely.
But you
to
don't
actually
use
keep
civilians to accomplish military ends.
Yeah, but this is what you're saying, and it doesn't really have anything to do with the truth. Like this was the
No, it
stretch
does.
that
It's
you went for.
fundamental international law. Using civilians to further military ends is the
Do,
most
do you
underlying
think
principle of war
under
crime.
the same assumptions, you will say that the kibbutz that bordered Gaza, okay, are also human shields? Because
They
that's basically
are.
what you're saying for the
I mean,
settlers.
they're in occupied territories. They are.
Let's look at the map, okay? Show me the Israeli map. Before 1967. Please show it to me.
Wait, yeah. So the kibbutzes that border Gaza on their southern area, right, that also border Egypt, are in former Gazan territory.
They don't exist anymore. What you are talking about is Gush Katif, and they don't exist anymore. There aren't any. They pull out of Gush Katif. This is exactly the point.
No. I'm not talking about within what the current recognized Gazan territory is. I'm talking about the things that exist on. So, okay, I don't know if you know the 1948 map,
I
right? Or I don't know
do,
how
but
well
please
you
put
do.
it on.
But okay, I
Please
said
put it on.
south of the current Gazan border. So here's the Egyptian border. Here's the Gazan border. There are kibbutzes right here. Right, whereas there used to be a line of land, right, that was Palestinian. Those are occupied territories. If we really want to pull up the map, I can, right? And I can point you to them.
You're
But I
talking
hope that
about
you know
is
your own history.
I know my own history. What you're talking about is Gush Katif, and Gush Katif was taken back. They pull out all the people from there. That's when we
Just not.
pull out
Okay.
of Gaza.
Okay. Okay. So, current Israeli population centers that are in occupied former Gaza. And I'm going to butcher these names. Apologies. I don't speak Hebrew, by and large. Avshalom, Dekel, Yevul, Shlomit, Nava, Benai Nezurim, Ematai. All of those are in former Gazan territory under the 1948 plan.
Let's pull up the map.
It's not that hard, everyone.
So you're saying Kfar Aza is occupied? Or, I don't know, Be'eri is occupied territory. That
I
was
reference specifically Shlomit. I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry.
Shlomit. Let's see.
Urbanai Nezarim. I'll go get the map for everyone who doesn't know, including yourself. this is the area of land I'm referring to, specifically with Gaza, right? All of those are areas of land that have been occupied West Bank. And then obviously there's Area A of the occupied West Bank, B and C. All of which are
Really
occupied to
looks
some
like
extent, right?
1948 as opposed to afterwards. But what is the title of this map?
So that's the 1948 plan.
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. You're talking about 67. Like you are actually talking about 48, and I'm talking about 67. So
I'm talking about the pre-1967 borders.
So I got you wrong. About the 1948 is what you're talking about.
I'm talking about the 1948 borders, the pre-1967
Okay,
borders.
so I got you wrong. I'm sorry. So I got you wrong. So let's talk about what predated the occupation, in quotes, as you said, of those places. Okay, like what was before that?
What do you mean?
Why were they occupied, basically?
Why were they occupied?
What do you use?
Because Israel took them illegally.
Why did this happen?
Why did the 1967 war happen?
No, why
because
did the
Israel,
1948?
Because Israel illegally declared independence, and then in response to that, the Arab nations wanted to, stop them from illegally declaring independence under a false plan.
Okay. Okay, so when Israel defended itself and pushed out the armed militias that attacked it, do you disagree with that?
Yes, in the manner that they did it.
6,000 unalived Jews in this war, which
due to the terrorist state of Israel declaring independence.
Why do you call it a terrorist state?
Because it was literally founded by the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, was literally founded by the conglomeration of 3 organizations that were termed T groups by Britain at the time.
So we are talking about when Israel basically declared independence. You're saying the attack on them was justified.
No, I'm saying that their right to defense doesn't extend as far as they expressed it.
What would be the appropriate defense?
To defend insofar as necessary to re-engage with actual functional diplomacy. That is not what they did. They defended to the point of utterly annihilating and expelling almost a complete ethnic group out of their area and never respecting the rights of that ethnic group going forward. I would have respected, right, if that terrorist group had the IDF at the time, right, had declared independence, right? Because let's talk about what it was. It was a set of Zionists at the time, declared independence. That had then been toppled by the Israeli people that wanted peace, and then they had re-entered into negotiations with the UN. Instead, what happened is they lived a false plan, right? The 1948 plan was never ratified without the consent of the Palestinians, and therefore the original claim to legitimacy that Israel has claimed is false. So their entire point of independence was fundamentally in violation of international law, and therefore they did not gain the right to defend that independence. I agree that the civilians have the right to defense. I don't agree that that state, which is invalidly founded, had that right to defense.
So basically what you're saying, Israel is not allowed to defend itself, and we should just...
That's not what I said.
Alive ourselves. But this is the premise of what you're saying.
Whoa. That is absolutely not what I said in any way, shape, or form. And you're going to go on to the next BS claim. I explicitly said that the civilians have the right to defend themselves, right? The state is not Jewish. The people are Jewish, okay? So when I say that the state is invalid, I'm saying nothing about the people. And it's certainly not anti-Semitic when I'm saying that the people themselves have the right to defend themselves. Explain to me how you're going to accuse me of being anti-Semitic.
You're basically saying that the army of Israel have no right to defend Israel.
No, the conglomeration of 4 T groups don't have the right to act.
Against 6 Arab nations?
Are you supporting Teism now?
The founding of
Are you supporting
the founding of the
groups?
Etzel and the other groups are in both from the British mandate not allowing Jews to go into Israel,
Are you justifying T groups now?
and Arabs doing.
Are you
Can I
justifying T
just
groups
finish?
now?
Can I just finish
Answer
for
my question.
20 seconds? But I just want to
Answer
finish
my
my point.
question directly.
I just want to
Answer
finish
my
my
question
point.
directly.
And defend again Arabs that attacked Jews all over Israel in multiple occasions. Okay, so they had two missions. One is to get the UK, and this is the reason they were called.
I don't have to let you speak. Answer my question.
What is the question?
You didn't hear it the 4 times that I asked it.
Because I just want to finish my point. But you're saying.
When I ask you a question, I'd appreciate if it was answered like relatively quickly.
I'm asking you
okay, so Ohan,
the Etzel defended against
Ohan,
Arabs that attacked Jews in Israel, or British mandate Palestine for the time.
I asked you if you were justifying Teism.
I'm not justifying theism.
Okay, so you think that what the IDF did in 1948 wasn't justified?
Some of that wasn't justified. But a lot of that was justified because they were also defending themselves against the Arabs that attacked Jews at the time.
Do you think anything that happened on October 7th was justified?
Did anything happen in October the 7th?
Do you think anything on the H group's side was justified?
The only thing that is, I'm Israeli and of course I will hate it, but if they only targeted military bases, the claim against them would have been much, much lower.
Do you think it would have been justified for them to attack military bases?
Like, I will say no, but in terms of what they could probably get away with international law and that sort, they probably
But I'm asking you what you think is justified.
Of course I'm not.
Okay, then what did the IDF do that was justified in 1948?
Whatever other people probably say it differently.
But I'm asking you, what did the IDF do in 1948 that was justified, considering that they were Teists?
They defended themselves. They defended the people of Israel, okay, the people inhabiting Israel, okay, against 6 Arab nations that wanted to basically annihilate them. They didn't want to remove the military power in Israel, for that matter. They wanted to annihilate every single Jew, okay, and take over the land. Let's be
extremely clear that was not their stated end.
That's completely clear that this is exactly what they.
I mean, that wasn't Iran's stated end at the time.
This is exactly what they wanted to do.
You're just wrong.
To kill every single person that lives in every single.
I mean, they stated an end, and it wasn't that.
So they basically wanted to take over the land and kill everyone inside of it.
Once again, no, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
I mean, this is going to be a nuh-uh point, but I mean, they didn't. Their stated end was to not recognize a Zionist state. And I know in the mind rot of confusing Zionism and Judaism, right, that fundamentally anti-Semitic idea that Zionism is Judaism and vice versa, right, you can confuse people that are anti-Zionist and doing actions towards anti-Zionism, right, quite effectively, as anti-Semitic. That is not it. There were anti-Semites at that time. There were anti-Semites in that movement. But also there were anti-Semites supporting Zionism. There were anti-Semites that funded Jews going to Israel, right? The anti-Semites were across both sides. If we want to point to stated ends, right, the stated end was to not allow a Western colonial Zionist state in the area and to allow, right, for Jews, as they always have in that area, lived. Jews lived under the Ottoman Turks. Jews lived prior to that. Jews lived under Romans. Jews lived under the Greeks. It's happened in that area for a very, very long time, and that's the whole entire basis of Israel's claim to existence. No one would deny that Jews have lived there, right? And by and large, even the Arab nations do not want to deny Jews the right to live there. They just don't support it being a Jewish nation. Even today, that is Iran's stated mission. But if you want to lie and make revisionist history, that's your choice. It just doesn't make it true.
When people point a gun at you and tell you this is because of one reason, but they are willing to pull the trigger,
You're now saying
I
the
don't
reasons
really
don't
think.
matter. Good backtracking, brother.
I'm not backtracking. You are saying something. Okay, their stated goal was this, but their actions so differently.
How? Did we see a mass unaliving of Jews within Iran at the time? You would think they would start with their own.
What Iran was not hostile to Jews at the time. It was only hostile after the
And
Ayatollahs
yet Iran was
basically
involved.
came to power.
It was only hostile to Jews following the foundation of the state of Israel?
The Ayatollahs, not the state of Israel, the Ayatollahs.
Fascinating.
Israel and Iran were used to be in, I won't call it great friends, but definitely a much better relationship than what they have now. Then the Ayatollahs came to power.
Fascinating. My point is the justification on either side was not entirely un-anti-Semitic, but the support for T groups within British Mandate Palestine was quite a lot of anti-Semitism. So if you want to throw out me being anti-Semitic, I suggest you be a little more careful
When did I
with
ever
that.
say that you are
Right?
anti-Semitic?
You did actually say that it was anti-Semitic. I just cut you off before you finished the sentence. But I would be more careful with that. I have nothing against my, family. And I have nothing against my dear friends and those I grew up around. Absolutely nothing. And if anyone thinks I'm anti-Semitic, please come on live and say it to my face. I'd love to speak to you. But as to the actual point, here's the difficulty: is I actually don't believe that the IDF had the right to do basically anything in 1948, by and large because they were a T group. They just unequivocally were. I believe that the Jewish population in that area were under threat at the time, mainly due to their own governance, and therefore had the right to defend themselves as people. But the state of Israel at the time had no claim to legitimacy, right? And has since been legitimized by, I would argue, quite corrupt recognitions under the international law. But their legitimacy at the time was unequivocally non-existent. So them as a state had no right to defend against other states. And I'd love to see anyone justify as to the opposite. I'm a bit done with Ohan, and we have seven other people to get on here. So I appreciate your time. Peace out. He left before I kicked him, just to be very clear, everyone. But I'm going to do a little bit of a spiel because I appreciate everyone coming on here. I appreciate all the gifts. Thank you so much. And I appreciate all the follows. Please like, share, follow. I love and appreciate. Will, you invited to the kebab? Yes, please. I love that type of food. If there is a cookout, if there's a kebab, let me know, Queens. But love you all. Do hop on my YouTube. I have a lot of these. I have hours and hours of content up on my YouTube. And I have also a Discord that you can join. So please do go join my Discord. That'd be very cool of you. Yeah, cool. It's all linked in my bio. So thanks for the gifts. Much love. And let's keep going. Hello.
Morning, baby. How are you?
Doing well. What did you send a guest request to disagree on?
I just wanted to ask. I was just watching you. I don't usually follow you, but you came up on my For You page. Did I hear correctly that you're Jewish? Is that correct, Don?
No, I have Jewish heritage.
Oh, you're Jewish heritage. I'm a black fella from Australia. I'm a traditional owner. And I have a lot of disagreements with our own people based on Israel. I support Israel. But I just wanted to make commentary on relation to us over here as blackfellas in Australia. And we call it blackfellas because there's a, question between, are we Aboriginal, are we Indigenous, or are we the sovereign owners? So we just compile it all into blackfellas. I just wanted to know, so are you against the backdrop that you wrote there, or and all US funding of Israel and the IDF? Is that correct, Darren?
That's my
Or
view.
that's your view? Okay, I just wanted to make commentary based on what we go through here in Australia.
I'm not terribly interested in personal commentary. If you want to have a two-way discussion, I'm happy to have that.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
that's
if
what
you
I
just want to like speak your own experience,
No,
that's what your
no, no.
platform's for.
No, two-way
Wonderful.
commentary. I'm just bringing an analogy from here in Australia. You know, what we go through as blackfellas over here. And I just wanted to see your view on what, because I see it as the same as what Israel goes through. The same analogy, like people.
Wonderful. Let's make the point. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we fight for our independence over here. You know, taking back our sovereignty over here against the Australian government. How do you? It's just a question. Do you see that the same as what Israel goes against? You know, goes with in relation to Palestine or Arab states?
No, that would be utter nonsense. Not when Israel has the third largest military in the world, and the largest military in the world per capita. To compare a extraordinarily oppressed, impoverished, and economically disadvantaged group of peoples fighting for autonomy and sovereignty within their own native lands to a Western colonial organization that has by and large decimated its enemies and maintained its own sovereignty at the cost of other native peoples is entirely entirely different and fundamentally like opposite. It would be more analogous to the Palestinians fighting for just basic recognition even within their indigenous lands of Israel.
Yeah, no, thank you, darling. I just wanted to see what your thoughts are in relation to that. Thank you for your comment. I appreciate your time, baby, and you have a good day. Whatever time it is over there, it's 5 o'clock in the morning here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you, baby. Bye-bye.
Send a guest request if you disagree with me.
Hello,
Hi, how old are you?
I'm 16.
Okay.
How old are you?
Don't do that, Queens. You must be 18 or older to join. I am an entitled little white boy, baby. But I do know more than you, homies. Okay. Hello.
Yo, what's up?
How old are you?
23.
Wonderful. What did you send a guest request to disagree on?
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, and anyone who believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. John 3:16.
Who do you think you're helping by saying that?
All the Christians who are potentially Christians but not Christians yet. I hope God brings you closer
And
to
do you
Jesus
think you're
Christ
going to
Almighty.
convince them by invading a space you're not welcome and showing disrespect
There's
for
900
boundaries?
people, bro. I could be touching anybody's heart.
But do you believe that showing disrespect for people's boundaries is going to compel people to join your
This is
religion?
no disrespect to anybody's boundaries.
I have stated multiple times
that
that I want people to disagree on this topic, and I don't allow for preaching on my live. Do you believe that disrespecting those requests on my platform will lead to people liking your faith?
It's the truth. There's no liking this, liking that. It's life or
I'm
death.
asking you whether showing the disrespect and entitlement held by you and many other people like you will draw people to want to be like you. Do you think that it is Christ-like to go into places where you are actively unwelcome, disrespect their beliefs, disrespect? Do you believe it is Christ-like to disrespect people?
I'm not disrespecting anyone. Christ
You are
went and hung out with
disrespecting
sinners.
me.
Somebody
I'm
just said they love me.
graciously offering you a platform, and you're
Somebody just said,
disrespecting it. Do
no, I'm
you
not.
you are I'm telling you, you are disrespecting me. You continue to be on here. That is a choice you're making. Do you believe that it is Christ-like to disrespect boundaries and disrespect fundamental gratuitous actions?
This is a public platform. It's not boundaries.
It's not a public. It is not a public platform. It is my platform. Do you believe that being smug and being unable to engage in a discussion is Christ-like?
Yeah, I'm trying to bring everyone to Christ, and you're not having a conversation about Christ.
Do you believe that thinking you know better than all other people as a human and as a fellow person, do you believe that that's what Christ intended for you to do? Or did he not tell you to be humble and to
I'm
listen
being
to the
humble.
lowest among you?
Yeah, I'm being humble.
You're not being humble. You
Just
are saying it is so important that we listen to the things that you said, that you feel entitled not only to my space, but my time, and not even to a welcome, not even to having a discussion, but to preaching to all those that did not even want to hear from you. Do
Okay,
you
so
believe that is what God intended for you to do?
Yeah, because Israel-Palestine, the conflict is biblical, so we should be talking about what is
Okay,
really at hand.
let's have a discussion.
Okay,
Do you want to have a discussion?
sure.
Okay. Do you understand the basic boundaries of this live, which is to not give a preaching and to have a discussion in reality?
I mean, your definition of preaching is different from mine.
You came on here and recited a very common Christian prayer. That is preaching.
Okay.
Okay. I actually do agree that it's biblical, right? And it's one of my fundamental problems with the Bible is that no, I didn't overreact. Is that the Old Testament codifies, institutionalizes, and justifies the genocide of the Canaanites in Joshua. So I agree that it's biblical. Do you stand by your God's choice to order the Israelites to genocide the indigenous peoples of a land?
We don't know God's intentions, so why are we assuming them?
I'm asking you what he did tell them to do. That's not his intention, that's his statement.
Well, Native
He
Americans.
told the Israelites in Joshua to kill young and old, man and woman.
Depends what
Do
these people
you
are doing.
believe that that was acceptable of your God?
If they're doing wicked things like sacrificing their babies to
The
false gods,
children?
sure. Yeah, the children of the Nephilim also.
These aren't the children of the Nephilim.
There's Nephilim DNA still going around. Don't deceive yourself.
So oh, wait. Of the Canaanites? So descendants of the Canaanites would also have Nephilim DNA.
I'm not saying Canaanites. I don't know if Canaanites are related.
Canaanites
to
are those that were the Israelites were told to kill.
Mm.
Also, the idea that they should kill an entire race merely on the basis of their race, that is genocide. You're saying that your God co-signed to genocide even of children, with the exception of unmarried women, which is really bad. But you're saying that the unaliving of children is acceptable. If that is true, then I don't see where we can have a disagreement about Israel, because you just do support them, genociding Canaanites, because you would agree that your God told them to, which is fundamentally their claim.
That's for God.
So are you saying that the Israeli government is justified in genociding the Canaanites, right? And the modern day Palestinians who are descendants thereof?
Whatever's happening is meant to happen in God's eyes. I don't support anything, but that's all I support.
Really? You believe whatever's
God has
happening
a
is meant
purpose
to
for
happen?
everything. It's written that all things work for good, even the bad
So
things.
did
all
October
work for
7th,
good.
do you support October 7th and what happened on October 7th?
I said all things work for good.
Okay. Explain to me. Can you explain to me how
God uses evil to
can you
bring
explain
about
to me
his
how
good.
October 7th worked good?
God uses his evil to bring about good. Do you not understand?
How do you know which is evil and which is good?
I don't know if God. Ask God.
Okay. So do you believe that genocide is good?
Like I said, all evil things work towards God's.
Do you believe that genocide is good?
God uses Satan to accomplish his
I'm
will.
asking you a direct question. Did you hear my question the 2 times I asked you?
Yeah.
Why did you not answer it?
Bro, I don't even know why you still have me up here.
Because you're embarrassing yourself and it's kind
I'm
of
not
funny.
embarrassing anyone, bro. I'm just talking about Jesus Christ. He's the God, bro. Jesus Christ is God.
Do you believe that showing yourself to be incompetent and pompous is helping your cause?
No, but like, if you really cared about your debate, you would have kicked me after the first 15 seconds that I talked.
Well, no, I care a lot more about other people not doing this.
W's in the chat. What?
Right. So if another
W's in the
pompous evangelical comes on here and does that, I like them to know that they are fundamentally embarrassing. And I also don't like Christian evangelicals, right?
need to
Because you
match
think
me.
you're better than other people, which is the least Christ-like thing that you can do.
No, I need to max.
If you don't think you're better than other people, do not come on here, misuse my platform, disrespect me, disrespect my live, disrespect my boundaries, right, to preach your mythology. It's a fundamental rule. Do you hear me? Do you hear what I said?
Boom sound effect after that.
Did you hear what I said?
No, could you say it again?
Okay. I am condescending to evangelicals. I am condescending to evangelicals. They deserve to be condescended to. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how old are you?
39.
You're 30? Wonderful. Are you Noah? Is that your name?
Now, Lena. Yeah.
Now Alina. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, what'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
Okay, so first of all, whoa, that was the whole other level of what people do in the name of God, also in the name of democracy, if you will, and how we're using this to justify the insanity of the insanity of the level that we lost humanity of, basically.
Yeah, so what'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
So, I don't know, like, what I disagree, I disagree with all the systems that are involved.
What'd you send a guest request to disagree with me on?
Say what?
What did you send a guest request to disagree with me on?
What do I disagree or agree with you on?
Just disagree.
Oh, okay. Well, because I agree. I just wanted to ask you a question. Basically, I wanted to ask you how would you think that debunking religion and losing that, how do you think will affect us if that's going to happen? Because it's kind of like a 2024 prediction. Do you think people are going to go more berserk if that is happening?
No,
or
I think by and large religion is used by those that are powerful to maintain power and like oppress. I don't think it's an orderly, helpful thing to the world. But yeah, that's my general answer. Thank you. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Guys, can you stop doing that? Send a guest request if you disagree with me. But also, thank you so much for the people following. Thank you so much for people sharing. Yeah. Hi. What'd you send a guest request to disagree on?
Hi. Well, I disagree on your Israel-Palestine stance.
Delightful. Why?
Well, I am Iranian. I was born in Iran. I'm Jewish. And we left in 89. I'm 38. So I was around 4. And it was a terrible place for Jews to live. Around a 200,000 population is down to like 2,000 at this point. And it wasn't just bad after Israel was founded. It was terrible for centuries before that. So if you have any questions, I can answer them. But
I don't see why dislike of Iran would justify supporting another religious ethno-state.
I mean, the
Don't you think
basics.
that bad experiences with theocratic ethno-states maybe would lead you to not support another one like Israel is fundamentally based on?
I don't think that's true.
I mean, it
Honestly, I
calls
just don't
itself
think
a
that's
Jewish
true.
nation.
It does,
Judaism
but
is a ethno-religion. So if you're a Jewish nation and your state refers to yourself a Jewish nation, it means that the ethnicity and the religion are integral to the state. And when a certain ethnicity and a certain religion are integral to a certain state, that makes the state a ethno-theocracy.
let me compare it to how Iran was. So
I don't doubt that it's better than Iran. It just doesn't mean that you have to support it.
no, there were different time periods in Iran. For example, when the Shah was there, Pahlavi, he was the Shah before the Islamic Republic took over. You know, my parents were generally happy with their lives in Iran. He changed things a lot. He made things a lot more equal. Now, the racism in society is there, and I would totally agree with you that Israel is not equal in that sense. There is racism, but they were happy with their lives in Iran. They would never have left, and Jews in Iran have been there for thousands of years. But it took a whole new level after the Islamic Republic was established. So there are levels, gradations to this. Now, Israel being a Jewish state is people jump on that like, why do you have to be a Jewish state? Why do you have to be a Jewish state? Every single neighbor is a Muslim state. Don't get that, wrong. Some of them may be better to minorities, some of them may be worse, but Islam is like codified in their culture, in their laws, and there's no problem with
I mean,
that.
that's not true. Lebanon isn't.
Lebanon, I don't know that much about Lebanon, but Lebanon is divided into several parts. From what I understand, it's a little bit
I mean,
different.
it's a current civil war, but Lebanon it was actually codified as a Christian state. It's a multi-ethnic state.
Yeah,
It's with the majority Christian. So, no.
sure. I mean, there are exceptions. There are some people.
You said
people who
all
are
of
better,
the
some are
neighbors.
worse. Okay, maybe I
There are
didn't
only
mean
3
all.
neighbors.
Uh,
4.
so what you're saying is that Israel shouldn't that you shouldn't have any religious or ethnic aspect to your country, like
No.
religious or just ethnic, or I mean just religious or
You should
ethnic.
neither have an ethno-state nor a religious theocracy.
Well, it clearly isn't a religious state, right?
I mean, it is.
How?
If you can gain citizenship, right, not on the evidence that you were either illegally expelled, right, or anything like that, but merely on the basis of religion, it's a theocracy. When special religions get special carve-outs in the law merely because of their religion, like Orthodox Jews do, that's a theocratic state, right? Whenever minor or major, intrinsic fundamental parts of Israel are theocratic. Marriage, the only recognized civil marriage within Israel is the religious marriage, and religiously married people get more rights than otherwise married people. That is the theocracy. Fundamental to the state of Israel is Judaism. They don't deny that. That's in their constitution.
Civilly or socially, you mean?
I'm talking legally. I'm talking the laws that they've passed.
No, there's a big. If you go to court, they don't ask you if are you Muslim or are you Jewish. In Iran, they do.
I named you. Well, once again, there's a scale to this. I've named
I
you
understand
examples.
that's what I'm trying to
Any
say
and
as well.
all interference of religion with state, right, is unacceptable. And why I call it a theocracy is because at the foundation of Israel is the religion.
At the foundation, I would completely disagree.
I mean, their constitution, as well as their diplomacy that led to the 1948 agreement, said that they needed a nation for Jews.
And they do.
But if you say that hey, I need a nation for Jews, you can't turn around and say, hey, this isn't a Jewish nation.
If that's what the argument you're going to use, then there would be so many Jews all over the world currently being oppressed. In Iran,
But you need to separate these two. Either you need to say it's not a Jewish nation, or you need to say it needs to be a Jewish nation. But you can't have both. Thank you.
It is, but comparing it to, it's much closer to the United States or Europe than it is to, Iran or
I never
it's not even-
compared it
it's
to
not even
Iran.
Close. I mean, it's like,
I never compared it to Iran. You did.
or any of its neighbors. I mean, Jews
I
cannot
never
live in those
compared it
countries.
to any of its neighbors. You did.
Okay, so where do you suppose my family should have gone? Some of them came to the U.S., but a lot of them had to go to Israel. There was no other choice. What would happen?
What
to
do I
those
think?
people?
Do I think founding an ethno-state was the correct solution to G-side? No. Like, what do you mean? I think the correct solution is that the people causing the problem, the Europeans, number one, shouldn't have
wasn't
caused the
the
problem in the first
Europeans.
place, and the Europeans weren't causing the G-side?
No, in Iran.
Oh, where should
my
they have
family
fled
was
to?
treated terribly.
Well, it's really interesting as to why they were treated terribly. By and large, it was because of American intervention. It comes from the exact same
Absolutely
thing.
not.
Do I
That
think
is
the
not
solution
true.
to American
Do you want me
intervention
to tell
is...
you? Do you want me to explain? This I know
Wait,
about.
but once
and
again,
you
I don't
really
know the
should
actual
listen
point
to
you're
me.
making. Sorry, let me try and really clarify this discussion.
Sure.
I never compared Israel to Iran.
No, I'm saying in
Okay.
Iran.
But trying to say you can't even compare the two is irrelevant.
No, I'm
I
saying
never
the-
did.
the
So
Jews there
what are you
had-
responding to me that I said, or my view that I believe?
You think the Jews were treated fairly before 1948?
No,
Well,
I don't.
It's not even close. There were
I don't think that. I
pogroms.
never said that.
For example, my brother.
One
was
second,
older
you just
than me.
want to
He went-
trauma dump. I never said I think they were treated fairly.
Okay, so it's right that they wanted to leave, right? So where were
They
they
can
supposed
want to
go?
leave all they want, just like a huge amount of minorities want to leave. That's fine. I don't think you need to justify that you're oppressed enough to have freedom of movement.
Say that one more time. Sorry.
I don't think you need to justify that you're oppressed enough to have freedom of movement.
Okay, but they had nowhere else to go.
Well, I think the solution to that was not the West coming in, taking area from indigenous people and giving it to them. I think it would have been proper, right, if we wanted to be gratuitous, to allow them into our own sovereign nation. If we want to solve a humanitarian issue, which that is what refugees from other countries are, we do it with our own countries and our own sovereign territory, gratuitously. We don't steal land from others.
Okay, but well, that's a separate point. But I don't see.
No, it's
anybody
not a
fighting-
separate point. How is it a separate point?
It is a separate
That was my
point.
answer. You think
No.
you asked?
Well,
do you think
no,
this was a
'cause
justified
I'm gonna
solution?
Disagree
No.
with that. I'm going to disagree with that, obviously. But what I'm trying to say
disagree
is
with
that
that.
nobody is
What did I not
fighting
respond
for-
to? How is
No.
it a separate point?
It is a separate point because
Okay, wait. How did it not respond to what you said?
You didn't, because what I said was, where were these people supposed to go?
And I said it. So the question is framed. So you're missing out on the point. The supposed to go is irrelevant, right?
It's not
like
irrelevant
the
at all.
question is right from the point of view of whomever has power. And I think you need to frame this. What should the West have done to help these people? What should the East have done to help these people? What
did
should
the
they
West
have
do?
done to help
West did nothing.
themselves?
What are you talking about?
Right? But
They did
where they
nothing.
where they should go. What do you like? That's nonsense. The should is like it's actually a non-question. So
No,
do you want to phrase your question so
okay,
it's actually
either the-
answerable?
Okay, the answer is either they shouldn't have gone anywhere because there was nowhere to go, or they should have gone to Israel. There was
Why?
only
Why shouldn't
two
they have gone
options.
to Europe?
Because they couldn't. They
Wait,
couldn't
but
get in.
they also couldn't go to Israel
They could.
any more than they could have gone to Europe, right? They could have attacked European nations, right, and taken territory from Europe. They could have attacked African nations and taken territory from Africa, right? It's a false dichotomy. You're pretending like this is an empty land that they would have had an option to go to, right? Actually, what enabled them to go to Israel was Western intervention. You see how baked into that question is saying it's either this type of Western intervention or nothing.
There wasn't Western intervention. They fought for their lives.
Why? Okay, wait. Why were Jews able to go to in 1908, for example? Why were Jews able to go to Israel?
Why were they able to go?
Yeah.
They were able to go like everybody else.
Via what instrument? What group of
Okay.
people had
See,
power to
I'll
allow
answer
them
your
to do that?
questions. You still didn't answer mine, but I'll answer
No,
yours.
your
What's
question is not unanswerable. Where should they have gone? Right?
Yes.
Well, wherever they were able to go as to not do it. Right? That's fine. I actually don't have an issue with Jews moving into the area. The point is you've made a false dichotomy. Do you know what a false dichotomy is?
I did not do that.
Do you know what a false dichotomy is?
I do.
Okay. The idea that it's either they stay where they should be or we accept this, that the only option was Israel, that's a false dichotomy. Because you're presupposing in the accept the Israel point, right, that that type of Western intervention is the only option. And also you said there wasn't any intervention? What are you talking about? The British Mandate of Palestine didn't have any intervention?
I don't see anyone fighting for those Jews. For the ones
The British
that were in
Mandate of
Arab
Palestine
countries,
had no Western
Iran,
intervention.
in all over the Middle East. Nobody said anything.
I said no
nobody is
Western
still saying
intervention. The
anything
Middle East
for
isn't
them.
Western.
Okay, why aren't you fighting for my house? I have a house still in Iran.
Bro. I said Western
Why?
intervention. Are you denying there was Western intervention in the British Mandate Palestine?
There was Western intervention on both parts. The British were all over the Middle East.
Yeah. So you said there was no Western intervention.
There was
right,
Western
in
intervention
Israel.
making Jordan too, in Syria
I know,
too.
but it means it's just important that when you say something, it's true. Do you
There's
agree?
Western intervention in
Do
Egypt.
you agree that it's important when you say something that it's true?
Yes.
So when you said there was no Western intervention when the Jews were trying to come to Israel, that was untrue, right?
It's untrue that you're saying there was no Western intervention anywhere else, then.
I never said that.
By your definition,
I never
sure,
said that
I
there was no
agree with you.
Western
Then by
intervention.
your
Wait,
definition,
yeah,
there
the
was
untrue
Western
thing that you just said
intervention
was
in
something I
Egypt,
didn't say.
in Lebanon,
Oh, sorry for
in
not
Syria,
lying.
in Jordan. There was Western intervention all over the Middle East,
I said,
right?
did I ever say there was no Western intervention in the Middle East?
Okay, then we agree. Oh,
No.
sure,
I
there's
need
Western
a
intervention all over the
straightforward.
Middle
Sorry,
East.
no. I'm gonna mute
You
you.
didn't.
I'm gonna mute you because I've dealt with like abusive techniques and abusive personalities in my life, right? I'm not going to engage with it further unless we're able to very quickly change things around. Because I genuinely think I'm crazy. I never said that. Okay? And you did say something that's untrue. And that does matter. Is there any disagreement on this basis?
No, I will agree with you. There
Okay,
was
then let's be
Western
extremely clear.
intervention.
You said, one second, let's be extremely clear. You said there was no Western intervention.
I didn't
When,
mean it
one
like
second,
you're
don't speak over
defining
me.
it.
I'm going to mute you if you speak over me again. I have zero
You just
tolerance
asked
for
me a
this.
question.
No. I didn't finish the question.
Go ahead.
You said that there was no Western intervention when Jews were trying to go into Israel. Was that untrue?
You misunderstood what I was trying to say.
Did you
Let me
say
put
it?
it that way?
Did you say those words?
But I was responding to.
Did you say those words?
You're saying I'm abusive?
Did you say those words?
Yes, sure.
Okay, did I ever say there was no Western intervention in the Middle East?
I didn't hear you say that, sure.
Okay, so when you said that I lied, when I said that there was no Western intervention in the Middle East, that was untrue of what you said.
Was
it untrue? Was that accusation untrue of me lying?
Did I say you lied?
You said that I said that there was no Western intervention in the Middle East.
That's what I garnered from the way you were proposing things. Yes,
But I never said it.
You never said it. Sure.
Okay. Okay, the reason I say that those are abusive techniques and abusive communication styles is actually you exemplified them perfectly. Right? There's this strategy of Darvo, right, which is deny, don't remember, and then reverse victim and oppressor. And what you did is you first denied, right? And then it's deny, attack, reverse victim and oppressor. You first denied, and you said, "No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say that. I never said that." Then you attacked. Then you attacked and said, "Actually, you're the liar because you said this," which I didn't. And then you said, "I'm the one being abusive." Reverse victim and oppressor.
I don't.
That is an abusive technique of
speaking,
speaking, and that's why. In case you didn't understand why I made that accusation against you, right? It's the clinical psychology categorization of abusive communication styles, right? Darvo. You denied. You said I didn't say that. Attacked. Actually, you're the liar. Reverse victim and oppressor. I'm actually the one who's being attacked right now because not only was I lied to, but you also accused me of being abusive. How dare you? When in fact you were the one gaslighting, you were the one lying, and you were the one misstating. So if you want to clarify yourself, you now have the space to clarify yourself.
All I was trying to say is these people had to go somewhere, right? And this one little country was carved out for them, by them, generally. You think that it was all Western intervention when I totally disagree. They fought for their lives to make that country. And nobody was fighting for them or their rights or anything about them. And still nobody is fighting for them or their rights or my home that was stolen. And instead of saying, okay, we have this other group that has all bad things have also happened to them, and let's try to help them, like Israel does to its Jews all over the world. They go and fly to different countries to pick them up to bring them back to Israel. Instead of saying Arab countries who have all the money and space and power in the world, let's go help these people who we care about and bring them to our countries, like Israel did with my family members. Instead of doing that, they say, let's kill the Jews. We didn't kill them the first time. You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and it's utter and complete nonsense. The first sentence you said is utter and
nonsense?
complete nonsense.
Why?
Like you, I don't think you're lying. I think you genuinely believe it, but it's just nonsense.
What's
the
nonsense?
idea is what's nonsense? The idea that no one is fighting for Israel.
No, those Jews.
Israel is one of the most
in the Middle East.
Western-supported countries in the world.
No, those
No one's
Jews in the
fighting for
Middle East,
Israel. No one's
nobody
fighting
fought
to
for my
protect.
family.
No one's
What are you
fighting to
talking
protect
about?
the Jews in Israel.
No, my
Bro,
family.
that's the whole entire
You fought
basis
my
for our
family.
defense policy for Israel. What in
No,
the world
who
are you
fought
talking
for my
about?
family in Iran?
Oh, no one fought for your family in Iran.
Yes, and all the Jews in Iran.
From oppression of
200,000
who? From oppression of who? The religious.
The Iranian people. Yes.
The instated religious leaders in Iran. Is who you're referencing. Post
It's not-
Shah.
No. The Shah was generally better, but for hundreds of years, for centuries, it was terrible religious oppression. Yes, I can give you 100 stories.
And
my
no one
family
fought
has told me.
against that? Is your claim?
No, nobody did.
Not
Nobody
Israel,
could.
who actively
Israel
took
Israel
refugees?
wasn't alive at that point.
Yeah, but neither were you or I. So there's no relevance to this.
There's
I
no
agree that
relevance to my
anti-Semitism. One second.
grandmother not going to school because little Jewish girls would get kidnapped. There's
Once
no
again,
relevance.
as I said, all you want to do is trauma dump. That's all you want to do.
That
You can do
happened.
that.
That
if you just
happened.
want, if you want to go trauma dump, you can trauma dump to a wall or a therapist. That's not me though, bro. The point about this is when you make a point, I want it to matter to the point being made. Anti-Semitism is horrendous and has happened throughout the world. I agree. I disagree that people are somehow, right, not protecting Jews now. That's not true. I mean, America is one of the largest funders of Israel, and Israel is one of the largest
No, in Muslim
holders of
countries.
Jews. But, well, your point actually, right, was no one's trying to protect the Jews in Muslim countries. Well, they are. I mean, Israel's taking them. And also, the anti-Semitism
Exactly.
faced,
Israel
sorry,
has
just to be
taken
extremely
them.
clear, the anti-Semitism faced in Iran, right, by comparison to, for example, the Palestinian peoples in the West Bank, order of magnitude difference.
Yeah,
Or
Iran
Gaza,
was much
order of
worse.
magnitude different. It's not. I mean,
Yes.
statistically not.
What statistic do you have of 200
Malnutrition,
years ago?
death, miscarriage.
Listen, they would kidnap little Jewish girls. My grandmother couldn't go
Like
to
the
school.
Israeli government kidnapped Palestinian children?
That doesn't happen.
It did. They have over 1,000 current under 12-year-old hostages from the West Bank held on no charges. What do you call those other than hostages?
Little Jewish girls.
What about the
raped.
Ethiopian Jews that were sterilized
Ethiopian Jews that were sterilized
by the state of Israel?
This is nonsense.
I mean, there was a UN report on the Ethiopian Jews sterilization either by Egypt or Israel.
This is nonsense.
Any trauma that's not your own is invalid. That's the theme.
You're saying Israel.
This is why I don't allow people to come up on here and trauma dump, is because any trauma that is not your own is invalid. This is not a big dick competition of trauma. This is not a, quite honestly, therapy session. The fact that you have faced anti-Semitism is horrendous. It, though, should inform and guide your politics rather than justifying the exact same treatment of others. When Israel acts against the Palestinians in a similar way the Iranians acted against the Jews, you should not justify it with the oppression of Judaism. You should be disgusted by it because of the previous oppression of your peoples. It is a fundamental bastardization of experiences of oppression to say that it justifies further oppression. No, if you experience oppression in the past, you have a further obligation to protect against it. So when I'm talking about the Israel's actions against the Palestinian people, your first move should not be to try and say, why don't you talk about this? 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 Why don't you talk about the Jews in Saudi Arabia? Why don't you talk about the Jews in Qatar? Why don't you talk about the Jews in Jordan? Your first aspect would say, tell me more. If that's happening, that's disgusting.
I never said that.
You did. You tried to redirect. You said, why don't people go help the Jews in Saudi Arabia? Why don't people go help the Jews in Qatar?
What I was trying to say is that nobody said anything about the maltreatment that was going on there, right? The only maltreatment anybody seems to want to talk about is the treatment that Israel and the Palestinians are experiencing.
That's just not true. I mean, Saudi Arabia and Qatar have been actively condemned, not only of their treatment of Jewish people, but also of Christian people. And Qatar specifically has been condemned for their treatment of migrant workers. It's nonsense. If a whataboutism is to be made, which, number one, the idea that if we only care about this issue, somehow that issue is less valid is nonsense. So that's a whataboutism. But second of all, we don't only care about this issue. The exact same people that call out the atrocities of Israel also call out the atrocities of Russia. Also call out the atrocities of China against the Uyghur people.
When was the last time? Listen, you don't even have to advocate for me. Don't. It's fine. Don't need your support. I live in America. I love this country. I love it. It's great. What you should be advocating for is, hey, Iran, you kicked out 200,000 Jews that are now in Israel, and now you're pretending like you care about the Palestinians, who the very people that you kicked out are apparently killing them, right?
Well, do you know the issue? Do you know the issue with this is that's victim blaming?
No, it's not victim blaming.
It is. I mean, it is. First of all, Iran has supported the Palestinians well before the Exodus.
You created this problem. Why don't you help solve it?
Iran created the problem by having Jews move out of it.
Israelis trace their lineage back to Iran.
But it doesn't mean that they... Okay, one second. First of all, it's much, much easier. Okay, whataboutisms really bother me. Okay.
This is not whataboutism.
It is a whataboutism because you're saying you shouldn't look at this. It is because the structure of a whataboutism is...
It's not whataboutism. It's not.
Okay, well, let me try and explain, and then you can disagree if you want.
Go ahead, sure.
The structure of a whataboutism is I bring up an issue, and then you point to another issue and say this is the actual issue you should be going to, without actually refuting that the first issue was a real issue. And somehow you pretend like the validity of issue number 2 somehow undermines the validity of issue number 1 without actually justifying that. So it can be both true that Iran has some fault or is disgusting, right? And it can be true that Israel is disgusting. And it can be true, my critiques of Israel, while also existing critiques of Iran. Okay, so the two things are fundamentally two discussions. If your argument looks more like this structure, hey, I think you're showing a bias because this one would be more effective to talk about, right? Or your rhetoric would have more impact to talk about. I'm just going to disagree pragmatically. What me, an American citizen, says about Iran, right? Literally doesn't matter. America has my exact same stance. I'm not going to, like, I don't think Iranian politicians are looking at me and being like, what does Will say, right? But if I'm to have any influence, I'm to have influence over my own country, the voters within my own country, and my own peoples, right? That's what matters. And America currently has an antagonistic view of Iran already, but we have an extraordinarily positive view of Israel. And I don't think that we should, by merit of that. And if I'm to have any influence, it's going to be had over those views. And so I'm going to talk about Israel much more than I'm going to talk about Iran. Because what I want to change is the view of Israel. Because the view of Iran in America is pretty much what I want. Pretty much where I want it, which is generally antagonistic.
Okay. So how about the Gulf Arab countries who have good relations with the U.S.?
Well, I mean, if we look at the view of American citizens of Saudi Arabia, it's pretty low, right? Same thing with the UAE, same thing with Qatar. And I also do condemn Saudi Arabia and our actions. I think we well should have gotten out of Saudi Arabia, but also that's a different conflict, right? As it is relevant to Israel-Palestine, Iran is relevant. That's why I entertain the whataboutism at all, right? Because Iran funds, right, one of the main belligerents in this conflict. Saudi Arabia doesn't, famously. So if you want to further whataboutism, you're going to have to prove that it's as relevant as Iran, which also Iran isn't relevant, but I entertained it. Can you respond to it being a whataboutism?
UAE and Qatar do.
The UAE following the Abraham Accords don't. Qatar might.
They get support from Egypt.
Egypt doesn't following the Abraham Accords, once again.
Nah, I would disagree with that.
And you would be wrong. Sure. But can you prove to me that it wasn't a whataboutism? Like you said that it wasn't a whataboutism. I showed you that it was. Will you admit that it was deflecting?
It was not, because I'm saying this is the source and the solution to the problem.
You don't think it would be a solution to a problem that Israel stops unaliving people? Do you think that Israel dropping fewer bombs would cause fewer people to die?
No.
No. Let's clarify that. Do you think that Israel dropping fewer bombs would do... Wait 1 second. Do you think that Israel dropping fewer bombs would cause fewer Palestinians to die?
Yes.
Okay. So if we're talking about the issue of Palestinians dying, clearly a solution can be Israel. It would just create a separate issue.
Yes, because I believe they're defending themselves.
So it's not... So Iran changing its policy of, I don't know, 50 years ago...
No, they can change it today. They can stop funding, T groups against Israel.
But that's not what you advocated for me to do. You advocated for me to change to advocate against the treatment of Jews within Iran.
No, they're all gone.
There are 8,000. There are 8 to 30,000 Jews in Iran right now.
Wait, say that one more time.
There are 8 to 30,000 Jews in Iran right now.
It's not that many. It's maximum 5,000, and they're all elderly.
I mean, the most recent numbers are at least 8,000 and upwards of 30.
That's wrong.
You can say it's wrong. It's both Iran and the UN's numbers.
It's wrong. I don't know how they came up with their numbers, but I know.
Can you give me a source?
Give you a source? I know because there are so few. Like my parents would.
I also know Iranians who know Jews. Like this isn't going to make your point.
There's no good way to count it, is what I'm trying to tell you. You're just going to have to go by people who know people.
You don't think Iran does a census?
They may want to inflate those numbers. I mean, what difference does it make?
What different? You said it was at least 5,000. We're debating between the number 5,000 and 8,000. In what world is this so fundamental?
It's not. It's there's a few thousand. It's, 5,000, 10,000, some number around there.
Okay, and you
Maybe
don't
less.
know,
I
and
don't
I
know
do.
exactly.
So I gave you the information and I gave you the citation. So
Well, I'm trying to tell you that any count is not going to be accurate. But it doesn't matter.
okay,
I
then
mean,
your view
what's
is
your
also
point?
not accurate.
What's your point?
That mine's more useful because it's actually based on the numbers that I did and not just familial relationships and vibes. Because that's how we get facts.
And they're severely mistreated. Yes.
How many Jewish immigrants from Iran were there into Israel within the past year?
Past year?
Mhm.
I don't know.
Next to none. So if we're going
Yeah,
to
they're all
argue
gone is
that
what I'm trying to tell
Iran,
you.
no, they're not all gone. They're 8,000 to 30,000, as I said. So,
Yes.
but one
So
second.
what
No,
are you
let me
trying
make
to
the
say?
point that let me make the point. Is you wanted to blame Iran on Israel's belligerency, right? By pointing to the Iranian descendants within Israel, those with Iranian, heritage within Israel, to suggest that Iran created this problem. And then you wanted to say that I should actually advocate against Iran and their treatment of Jews. Well, obviously, even if Iran could be to blame for its past cause of immigration, right, into Israel, and that created the problem, it's obvious that it's ended, because there is not mass immigration of Jews into Israel. So advocating that the immigration stops, or the cause of the immigration stops, would be entirely toothless. It's not only a whataboutism, it's a stupid whataboutism. Because the actual issue you pointed to, right, anti-Semitism within Iran, basically has no impact domestically within Iran. You can argue that it has impact foreignly, right, by them supporting, H group, and H group, right? So we have Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas. But that would be a different claim, and that's not actually what you requested me to do. You said I wanted to change the treatment of Jews within Iran, which would have no impact, even by your own arguing.
No, it would have a completely different. What I was trying to, the point I was trying to make is there's no one advocating for their right of return, which is just as valid under your logic as the Palestinian one, right?
I advocate for their right of return. It just wouldn't make a change, because would you want to go back to Iran even if Iran allowed you to?
Yeah, if they treated me nice, why not?
If they treated you nice, by and large, and how would that change? Do you think that that's the majority of Jews within Israel?
If they were treated well in their countries, they never would have left.
But we don't have control over that now.
Okay, so you're advocating.
So my point is, you're saying I'm advocating right now. You're saying I'm advocating right now for something I should have advocated a while ago. You're comparing, right, me advocating against Israel right now to, well, actually, if you go back 70 years and you advocated advocated against Iran's treatment of Jews at that time, so therefore you can't do it now. Homie, I was before a fetus at that time. Like, if that's the, like, your whataboutism is from 70 years ago.
You're not just advocating.
It died of
for them.
tetanus. Like, what are you talking about?
No, you don't understand my point then. What I'm trying to say is that those Jews have just as much right of return argument as Palestinians.
They do, I agree.
Okay, so why is there no advocacy for that point?
Because in the real context of this conflict, by and large, the Jews in Israel want to stay in Israel, and the Palestinians in Jordan and in Syria and in Lebanon don't want to stay in Jordan, Syria, and in Lebanon. So, important to a right is a want to express that right. I don't know where he went. Hello?
Sorry about that. No, I was saying, why don't they want to stay in those countries?
Once again, wait, so you asked me why this is the advocacy that's happening. Those are the set of facts that are causing this advocacy to happen, We could go through a series of other justifications to say, yeah, they should change those set of facts, but with the current moralism, right, and the current facts informing what I'm saying, is there an issue with what I'm doing?
No, I get it. I get your
Okay.
logic, but hey, maybe Jordan should treat its Palestinian population properly.
No shit. But also, also, just to be extremely clear, 90% of Jordan is Palestinian. So they're now keeps falling, bro. 90% of Jordan is Palestinian. The reason they want to leave, right, is for a series of reasons, by and large because Israel's wealthier and has more support anyway, and also it's their homeland as of the last generation, right? But you accused me of, well, why do people only care when it's Jews being the oppressor? Why do people... We don't. It's just not true.
No, I'm saying, isn't it more rational to have a country that takes them and treats them well, just like Israel takes Jews
I
and
advocate,
treats them
but
well?
that starts with what we have control over. America has more control over Israel than we do over Iran. Jordan, you have a good point, and I fundamentally disagree with this with the strategy of Israel. But we also have more. Saudi, I disagree. I think we have a lot more control over Jordan. The UAE, I also disagree. But I think we have a lot more control over Jordan. Once again, Jordan, you have a good point on, right? And actually, Jordan does have lower human rights violations by comparison to Saudi or the UAE or Qatar. So they are actually a bit more cucked by the West. But secondarily, I don't think America. I critique America's, foreign interests consistently. Right? My whole platform is built on critiquing Americans' foreign interests and our colonialism and our Western intervention. Critiquing Israel, right, is a starting point because it's so cogent, right? But the idea that there are other ways to approach this, right, or other issues should not stop you from engaging in one or another. You actually need to engage with the subject matter of what I'm saying, right, and the argument that I'm making to debunk it, rather than merely pointing to another thing that I could be talking about. That is by definition a whataboutism. And it's disingenuous.
No, you're trying to get from point A to point B, and point A is where we are today, and point B is a solution that everyone is respected and everyone lives a decent life.
Yeah, and I think not actively fund. So, okay. I think not actively funding a genocide, right, is very, very different than putting political pressure on Iran to change its internal policies.
Okay, I didn't say. I don't agree with your first statement.
Exactly. See, that's the substance of the debate.
Your second statement.
That's the substance of the debate.
That's not what
that you need to engage with. Is within the framing of the debate, right? It's very clear why I'm making the decision of this rhetoric. Right? And if you want to disagree with that decision, you need to engage with the substance of the debate.
Okay. I mean, I am. But
you're not. You're actually unsubstantially critiquing it. Right? You're saying you're not wrong that this is an issue, but there's this bigger issue, or there's this other issue that you should be approaching it with, without engaging with the actual argument.
Well, even if I'm conceding your point that what today is this, genocide, apartheid, whatever. Even if I'm conceding that point, which I'm not in any sense conceding that point, I'm saying, why is the solution not to accept, absorb, treat well this group of people who you seem to care about so much in countries that have tremendous amounts of room for them?
Because the solution to genocide is not ethnic cleansing.
Okay, so why did the world not have a problem with how these Jews got there in the first place?
We did.
No, the world.
That's why we did the Nuremberg trials and convicted them.
It wasn't just in Europe. It was all over the Middle East.
Wait, but sorry. You're pretending as if there hasn't. But let's respond to your solution. You're saying the solution to genocide isn't actually stopping the genocidal actor.
Like I said,
It's
I
too.
don't
It's too.
concede
No,
that
I know,
point.
but you have to make an argument. You can't be this slippery. You have to actually make an argument. So you're saying even if I concede your point, which you don't, right? But even if you did, in the abstract, the solution to genocide would be not for the genocidal actor to stop. It would be for other countries to allow migration.
Yes.
Okay. That's fascinating.
Today, if there was a genocide against Jews, Israel would send the planes to get them to bring them back.
But do you not think that it should equally condemn the actors of genocide? And do you not see how that would be ethnic cleansing?
That would be
You
an
are saying,
afterthought.
let's
That
be
would be an
extremely clear.
afterthought.
But let's be extremely. It was an afterthought. Most Palestinians have left, and most Palestinians have been displaced. It is an afterthought. But just to be extremely
It
clear,
isn't.
I mean, it is.
Today,
Most Palestinians have already left and been ethnically cleansed. There are more Palestinians outside of Palestine than are inside Palestine. But just to be extremely clear, you are saying the solution to genocide is ethnic cleansing because you know that mass migration of a
Absolutely
given
not.
people. Okay, that is
Absolutely
what you're
not.
suggesting is ethnic cleansing.
No.
Forced mass migration of a peoples is ethnic cleansing.
I'm putting the shoe on the other foot and saying what would happen
blaming
in
the
the opposite
victims.
scenario. What would happen in the opposite scenario?
If it was Jews, I would condemn the people genociding Jews.
Yes, but
And I would condemn them and I would actively work to go against them. And I wouldn't blame the Jewish nation or the Jewish people or the people who support other Jews for the genocide against them.
so you're
Obviously, because that would be stupid.
So what you're saying is there's no active genocide against Jews in other countries is why you're not speaking up against these other countries' treatment of Jews.
What I'm saying is in a hypothetical world where there was a specific genocide against Jews happening, right, I would condemn the actors and not victim blame. I don't think the solution to the Uyghur genocide in China is for the Uyghurs to move out. I don't think the solution to the Bosnian genocide in Yugoslavia was for the Bosniaks to leave. I don't think the Rwandan genocide would have been solved by the Tutsis leaving. Obviously. Duh. Because that would be ethnic cleansing.
But isn't that a better scenario for them?
Ethnic cleansing is better than genocide, but you know what's better than either ethnic cleansing and genocide? Not doing either.
That doesn't seem to be an option, is what I'm trying to get at.
And who's
Just like
making it
it wasn't
not an
an option for me to stay.
The point is who's making it not an option. You're not even considering the idea that they could not be a racist country.
Well, the thing is, the other side disagrees with you. It's not like they're just not seeing it. They see the same thing you're seeing. They don't agree with you.
You just think... So here's the thing. This is why I said it was a false dichotomy. You said the choice was between ethnic cleansing and genocide. I'm saying the choice is between genocide and peace.
The other side would say the same thing.
What other side? Who's the other side?
The
Zionists?
The Israelis.
And they would be wrong. That's the thing, is when you don't actually engage in the substance matter of a debate, right, you simply continue to repeat yourself. I'm aware that Zionists don't want peace. I'm aware that lots and lots of Zionists don't believe that peace is possible. That has no bearing on the argument that I'm making.
I mean, the subject matter has been discussed endlessly. You're right.
But you've fallen back on a cursory point.
What was that?
You've fallen back on a cursory point, right? So the point that Israelis would disagree with me, that's not a disagreement of substance, that's a disagreement of form and rhetoric.
No, I get where you're coming from in that sense. Yes, obviously, if you think they're doing something wrong, it's a ethnic cleansing, it's a genocide, it's apartheid, whatever, you're going to be against it. Yes, I get that. But the other side is just as vehement that it's not.
I'm aware, and that's a disagreement not of substance but of form.
So
you understand the distinction I'm making. I don't care that the other side disagrees with me. I'm aware. The other side disagreeing is not a substantive critique.
But at this point, it's the same point that my family faced in Iran. What do? We're not going to get them to treat us better. I have an option to leave and go live a decent life somewhere else. Those people don't have that option, and and people are actively saying that it's a bad option. We should do what we can to stop it. This is wrong. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
That makes sense?
No.
Okay. All right, sure.
I mean, all I got from that is anti-Semitism bad, which, like, fine, yeah, I agree. Like, duh.
No, what was the solution to it?
What was the solution? Not anti-Semitism. Not ethnic cleansing. The solution to all, right, by and large, all ethnic violence is healing, reconciliation, and integration.
Sure.
That's all that's ever worked. Healing, reconciliation, and integration is all that's ever worked to reduce violence like that.
So
Israel has claimed
are
sorry,
the worst
sorry,
people in
just
the
to be
world
extremely
doing
clear,
the worst
just to be
things
extremely clear,
that ran away from other countries. They're doing all the terrible things, but
I don't
not
think
those
that, I don't.
countries
Sorry,
they ran away from.
I never said the Jews were the only ones doing bad things. I never actually said the Jews were doing bad things. The Zionists are doing bad things. That's true, but by
It's
and
all
large,
anybody cares about.
most
Apparently.
it's not. You're a liar. I've told you multiple times. I was very outspoken against the Uyghur genocide.
Okay, start a live on that. See if you can get as many people in here.
I won't, because you know what's not happening right now? 30,000 of them aren't dead within 100 days. There's a scale to this, brother. Not a single deadly event. There is no single deadly event that you could point me to within the past 100 days that have caused fewer people dead. Name one.
The last 100 days?
Within the last
Probably
100
nothing.
days, what has killed more people?
I would assume there's nothing else. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think we should maybe be talking about that which kills the most people?
Sure.
Okay.
100% of all the
That's
talk
the end
all
of the
time?
conversation, quite honestly. It really is. But it was mildly tolerable having you up. I'm gonna go have fun with my friends. I'm astounded and I'm flushed. I'm filled with calculus. I really think to be must. I'm sweaty at the gym. Okay. Hello, my loves. Okay, so I will do a little outro. Outro time. Thank you to the gifts. You're very cool. You're very slay. I'm gonna upload on YouTube hopefully soon. And yeah. Follow me up here. Follow me on my backup. Follow me on my Patreon. Well, if you want to support me, follow me on my Patreon. My Cash App's in my bio as well. You're all very cool. Join my Discord, because we're cool people. We're very cool people. We got 45 people on Discord right now. And you should go join it. The link is in my bio. I watch it while I'm on live, so it's helpful. Cool. All right. Love you all. Bye-bye. Also, look what I can do with my mic. Wait. Ooh. Is it doing it? There it is. Ooh. Okay. Bye.